Hey guys, Chris here from Mixdown Online. Now I am here today to answer your questions in this Q&A video. Alright, so let's start up with Real Raven 2000. Is it possible to create a group channel with a red fader, as in have a second stereo master without using a physical output? That would be a nicer workflow, so we have our master with inserts and then the actual output with metering plugins, which can also be used for reference tracks. I would usually put all of my summing groups to the right section of the mixer with the stereo out. So it would be nice if the submaster was also the same color, red. If not, I can probably find a way to route the output back. Alright, so in Cubase the output channels are routed going out to a physical output. That's the way Cubase works. So you can set up several outputs if you want, but they're not going to be able to be routed within each other, okay? Like a group channel track would do, or an effects channel track, okay? So you need to put that into consideration. You use the output channel tracks, to send to a physical output. Okay, so you can create mono output tracks, stereo as you wish, but it needs to be supported by your sound interface. Now, if you want to do, like you're suggesting to do, by using a, you were saying that you wanted to use that, second stereo out to insert all of your plugins and then, the main output to put some metering plugins and stuff. You're gonna have to do this with a group channel track like I do in my videos, okay? You can actually check a few videos back where I use a group channel track, call it stereo out, and use that to insert all of my plugins and then send that to the main output, okay? Now, yeah, the fader will not be the same color, but there's a way around. If you absolutely want to have the faders the same color, you can adjust a few colors in the preferences if you want. But the thing is, if you do so for one group channel track, it's going to apply to all group channel tracks, okay? But if you want to do so, you have to go into preferences, and then I think it's let me think here, appearance, appearance, and then colors, and then you have like something with faders, color faders or something. Anyway, it's in there. You can actually select a different color for all input and output tracks, group channel tracks, effects channel tracks, audio tracks, and stuff like that. They can all have custom colors if you want. Okay, so that's the way you do it in Cubase. I would suggest you to just use a group channel track to do so. It's pretty easy and does the job. All right, so now for your second question. When filming tutorials, have you found a way to capture the automatic preview sounds you get when you pitch correct? I would love to make my own tutorial on it, but that sound gets lost. I guess it's routed to the hardware directly. Okay, I don't know how your system is set up, but usually when you have like a preview of an effect like pitch correct, it's supposed to go out the same way as the audio goes out, okay? So through your sound interface. Now, I'm not there to check your system the way it's set up, but usually that is the case, Like on my side, everything go out the same route. So when I use a preview for pitch correction, for example, it is going to go out of my sound card and not through the computer system. Now, when I do my screen capture, okay, I don't record the audio directly into the screen capturing application. What I do is I track everything in a 4-track Tascam recorder, where I record all of my audio out of my sound card directly into this recorder and my microphone as well. So that's the way I do it. I find it very easy to do so, and then I just transfer everything into my laptop where I do my video editing in ScreenFlow. So if you want, though, you could use an application. It's a free app called Soundflower, okay? This will actually act as a sound interface. It will take all the sound interfaces that are connected to your computer. So if you want to use more like 2 different sound interfaces on the same system, you can actually use Soundflower to manage that, and it's going to manage your the main sound of your computer at the same time. So if you want to have the assurance of recording all the sounds that comes out of your computer, you can use Soundflower and use that as the main interface when you select the sound source out of your screen capture software. Okay, so that's the way you can do it. Try it out, let me know how that goes. Okay, now a question from Michael Hart. How should we manage our plugins in relations to CPU and not overloading the system? When and how should we be printing our MIDI tracks? And does printing MIDI tracks go some way to helping my computer deal with all the information? Okay, now, yeah. the more MIDI tracks or the more virtual instruments you're going to be loading in your project, the more it's going to be hard on the CPU. Now, when I'm recording a MIDI instrument, okay, I'm going to first bring my buffer size at the lowest possible so I can avoid latency, but this is going to be harder on the CPU. Okay, so at some point, if my CPU is a bit too loaded, and to know that I always have my performance meter open and visible in my session. So what's happening is at some point my CPU is going to be loaded the more I load some virtual instruments. So what I do, I freeze my instruments at that point, you know, if I'm not done with the production. So I do freeze my stuff, so it frees up a lot of CPU. Okay, if you don't have a freeze option in your DAW, you know, and you know, the minute you're done with a sound, you know, an instrument, I would say bounce it into audio. This will free up some you know, some CPU. Once I'm done with everything on the production side and I'm ready to mix, instead of keeping all the virtual instruments installed in my session, I make sure I bounce everything into audio, and then I even, you know, transfer all these tracks, these audio tracks, into a new session for mixing. That's the way I love to work, and this way I'm done with the production, and I know I'm done and I committed, and I'm then ready to mix stuff, you know. So I don't want to go back. I want to avoid that, you know, starting to do a mix and then go back into the production and, you know, and back and forth and stuff, you know. At some point you need to finish your song and you release it, you know. That's the goal. So this is the way I work. That's my workflow. I love bouncing MIDI tracks once I'm done, as if they were real instruments that I recorded. Now for your second question, what settings do you use when burning to MP3 for best results? I'm losing a lot of information burning to MP3. Can I improve this? Yes, you can, but this all depends on the way you're actually exporting or bouncing your MP3 versions. Okay, so I would say what I do on my side, I just make sure I bounce my MP3 into 320 kbit, I think it is. I make sure it's at the highest rate, okay? So 320 is the highest you're gonna get, and by doing so, you're gonna get a very good MP3 quality. Now, for your third question, do you recommend inserting the mastering UV22HR on all of your tracks in slot 6 or 7? If you can't master a track but want to bring up the level with processing on the master bus. Now, the UV22HR plugin that we have in Cubase, okay, is a dithering plugin. Now, what is dithering? Basically is when you downsample a resolution like a 24-bit resolution and you downsample that to 16 bits, okay, for CD quality. Now, by doing so, what's going to happen is you're going to get some quantization noise. Okay, and what dithering does, it adds some random noise to the signal before it gets downsampled to 16-bit. Okay, so now the quantization noise is random. Okay, so that helps the signal to keep a good quality, to just make that simple. So that is the simple explanation of dithering. Now, this is not something that is very audible, you know, unless you have a very, very good ear and a very good system where you can actually do some A/B testing. But on YouTube like that, even if I do an A/B testing directly on YouTube with the sound quality that we have on YouTube, you won't hear any difference. But I would say just put it on, but only on the master bus. No need to put that on all the tracks at all. Only on the master bus, and only when you're downsampling from 24 bits to 16 bits. So basically at mastering. That's the only time, the only place you're gonna dither your sound to 16-bit. So this is where you're gonna put this kind of plugin. All right, so next we have Alex Jackson. I hope I pronounced that well. A lot of tutorials cover working with pre-recorded tracks. I can't seem to find any good tutorials about controlling the input signal. When do I use the knobs on my sound card? When do I use the input fader? When using the pre-gain, okay? Do we set the input levels also at around minus 18 dBFS? Okay, so this is a gain staging question. Now, it is the same rule. The same rule applies when you record your audio. Okay, so I always make sure when I record my audio that it comes into Cubase at minus 18 to minus 12 dBFS. Now, if I want to monitor this, I can use the software that comes with my sound interface. Now, I have a separate console that comes with this this sound interface directly on my computer, so I can manage all the signals that comes in. Okay, so whatever I'm recording, I'm going to have my meters, and I'm going to set that up to make sure I'm at minus 20, minus 18 to minus 12 at peaks, And I can also do the same in Cubase as well. You know, if you look at your input faders, and make sure they're visible in the mix console. So on top, if they're not visible, you can actually make them visible on top of the mix console, and they're gonna be on the left side of the console, okay? So leave them at 0, don't touch them. There's no need for you to touch the faders, the input faders in Cubase, but this is a good way to monitor what's coming into Cubase, okay? And this way it's very easy to know if you have enough gain and if your signal is at a right volume. So do it this way and you'll be fine. But it is important, in my opinion, to do so at the recording stage as well, okay? So now for your second question, Cubase only has 4 Q mixes. So how to set up an extra Q mix or channel for that extra 1 or 2 musicians when recording live? Good question, okay? You're right, you can only have 4 Q mixes in Cubase, okay? Right, they could be mono or stereo, you have only 4. Now, if you have like a 6-player band, you know, and you want each of them to have a mix, it's possible to do so using something like this, okay? Now, this is a headphone distributor, okay? Basically, what you do is one of the Q mixes is going to be inserted physically here, okay? And then that signal will be distributed within these 4 stereo you know, headphone inputs, okay? So there you go. Very simple. So this way you can feed like 4 extra headphones on the same mix. Now the only thing though is you're going to be using that 1 Q mix to feed that unit. So these players, all the players that will be connected to this unit will have the same mix. So this is something to consider, but it is possible to do so. All right, so now I just want to go back, guys, to the video I made on mono versus mono stereo plugins. Some of you have left a lot of comments in the comment section on YouTube and by email as well, and I really appreciate that. That was a fun discussion we had. And finally, what's happening is I suggested in the video to use a group channel track to send your signal into if you wanted to use a stereo plugin on a mono track, but you can also simply use a stereo audio track and drag your mono signal into it and use your plugins, your stereo plugins. Now, if you do so, just make sure you don't use a mono to stereo plugin. These are useless in Cubase. They work well in Pro Tools. In Cubase, they are useless. And now if you want to record your guitar, okay, using a virtual amp, I would just, you know, create a stereo track and record your mono signal through that stereo track where you have your stereo virtual amp inserted, okay? Hey guys, this is it for this Q&A video. That was fun, and feel free to leave me other questions, okay? info@mixdownonline.com, info@mixdownonline.com. I'm gonna do this kind of stuff, this kind of videos once in a while, and just to help you guys out with your questions. All right, so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you're not already. All right, guys, see you next time.